This is where I left off from the last video, and I left you with 4 problems to practice. I think I did find an error. It's this -1 right here. So when you're going back through and we work through it, we'll both just double check that right there. I want to work through these fairly quickly, but before I get going on that, I want to look at all the answers and just kind of look at the type of roots that they are. If I look at this right here, I know that there are 2, they're real, and they're rational. Because when I put these in, I either have a repeating decimal or I don't have a decimal in the calculator. This I have two imaginary, and what makes it imaginary is this I right there. So I have 2 imaginary roots. And this one I have 2 irrational. They're real, but they're irrational roots. I makes it imaginary, everything else is real. This is irrational because if you take the square root of 57, it's going to give you 7 point a decimal that never ends, nor does it repeat. So this is irrational, this is rational. And this is one real rational root. And a lot of times you'll see DR, which stands for double root. In other words, if I were to factor it by hand, I'm going to get the same answer twice. I will have, when I factor this, I would get the same parenthesis if I were to do it by hands using bottoms up. So that's going to be a double root. Sometimes you'll see DR written there, and we'll mention it. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly. And number 5, you had to put this in decreasing power and bring the 8 over. So we have 3x squared minus 8x plus 4 is equal to 0. So finding what we're looking for, A is 3, B is -8, C is 4. I'm looking for the discriminant, and I'm looking for x, the values of the roots. So let's find the discriminant. D equals b squared minus 4ac. So this is going to be -8 squared minus 4 times 3 times 4. Don't forget to put your -8 in parentheses if you're going to do that. If you're going to type it in the calculator. So I get that this is equal to 16, which is a perfect square, which kind of tells me it's going to come out to be without radicals. Since this is a perfect square, it's not going to end up with a radical. I'm not going to end up with one in my answer. So let's plug it in. X equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now you want to take the square root and multiply wherever you can. I can take the square root of 16, that's 4. I can multiply 2 times 3, that's 6. But I have to go through and remember that I'm going to break this up into 2 different answers. I have 8 plus 4 divided by 6, and I have 8 minus 4 divided by 6. Well, 8 plus 4 is 12, over 6 is 2. And then 8 minus 4 is 4, over 6 is 2/3. So my discriminant, I should have written that here, was 16. And my answer is 2/3, 2. So this is all of my information, but this right here is actually my final answer. Okay, number 6. Number 6. This is written in decreasing power, so far so good. Now I want to find all the given information. So I'm going to plug in. A is 3, B is 2, C is 4. I'm looking for the discriminant, and I'm looking for the values of x. The discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So the discriminant is b squared, 2 squared, minus 4 times 3 times 4. So I'm going to plug that in the calculator, which is -44. So then we plug it into our formula. X equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. 2 times 3. So if I look at that square root of -44, I take it. It's not perfect, but I can break it down. I know that this is -4 times 11. And I know the square root of -4. I have to be a little careful because when I take the square root of a negative, it's imaginary. So I have -2, starting back at the beginning, -2 plus or minus 2i, there's 2i, square roots of 11, all over 3 times 2, which is 6. And then I can reduce that, and here's where I think there was an error in the first part. 2 will go into all three of these numbers. 2 will go into 2 once, into 2 once, and into 6 3 times. So here, that answer is going to be -1 plus or minus I square roots of 11 all over 3. And then when I come back, I should have written my discriminant, which was -44. And then my answer, -1 plus or minus I square roots of 11 all over 3. This is my final answer, but all of this information is needed. Number 7. I'm going to write this in decreasing power, so I'm going to bring my constant over. So I have 8x squared minus 5x minus 1 is equal to 0. So A is 8, B is 5, C is -1. I'm looking for the discriminant, and I'm looking for the values of x. The discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, is going to be -5. Oops, let me put that negative right there. -5 squared minus 4 times a, which is 8, times c, which is -1. And I got 57. And then I plug that into my formula. X equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I multiply where I can and take what I can. Since 57, it's not prime, it's only divisible by 3, it doesn't have a perfect square. So I have 5 plus or minus the square root of 57, and then I can multiply 2 times 8, which is 16. This doesn't break down, so that would be my final answer. Oh, I forget this. Go back and put in that the discriminant is 57, and then this is 5 plus or minus the square root of 57 all over 16. Given information, and then here's my answer right here. Number 8. It is in decreasing power here, so I'm going to just seek out that information. So I have that A is equal to 9, B is 12, C is 4. I'm looking for the discriminant and the value of x. To find the discriminant, that's b squared minus 4ac. So this is 12 squared minus 4 times 9 times 4. When you put this in the calculator, you're going to find that that is 0. Then you're going to plug that into your formula. X equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times 9. And then my discriminant here is 0. Remember that discriminant is 0. When I look at that, I'm also reminded when the discriminant is 0 that I'm only going to have one answer. I'm only going to have one answer. The discriminant 0 just leaves 0, and it just leaves -12 in the numerator. 2 times 9 is 18 in the denominator. And of course, we always reduce a fraction. 6 will go into -12 twice. 6 will go into 18 3 times. So my answer is -2/3. And we usually write dr for double root. Double root. If I were to factor that, that's the answer this is the answer I would get twice. So these are all the types of answers that you have. You should be able to just work through that quadratic formula. Again, you can plug in those answers to x here, and you'll find that that equals to 0. I'm going to let you finish that worksheet on the homework, 1 through 15.